Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how would you manage and create your Azure resources using the graphical user interface or the Azure portal. We have discussed a lot about the Azure regions, how would you create your subscriptions, how would you create an Azure resource tags, but I forgot to show you how would you manage and understand more about the Azure portal. How would you use the Copilot for Azure? How can you create resources within the Azure portal? How can you create dashboards? How would you view all of your Azure services, like enable and disable the your favorite services? How can you troubleshoot? How can you create AI projects inside Azure portal, and many more. Are you excited to make the Azure cloud your comfortable zone? Let's get started. Before we get started, there are many ways to manage the the cloud resources or manage the Azure resources. One of the flavors is going to be the graphical user interface. So you can create resources or delete resources through the Azure portal, or even use the command line, which is the CLI, or you can use PowerShell. You can also use infrastructure as code like Bicep or Terraform. So all of these are tools that help you create, delete, manage your resources on the cloud. Okay, so to access the Azure portal, normally you type in the URL portal.azure.com. So this is where you navigate to the Azure portal, and then it will ask you to sign in with your Outlook or your Microsoft account, and then you will have a page look like this. So the first thing that will show up here, it will be the whole blue blade here. You have the search bottom, so this is basically you can search on any service. Any cloud provider, including Microsoft, like to change services and different names and so on. So the best way to find these services is using the search bar. So this is the global search. So if you are looking to create a virtual network, then you just search for VNet. If you're creating a virtual machine, then you see virtual machine. If you are looking to create AI models, then you just type AI Foundry, and then you find the AI Foundry and AI Search service, and so on. And then you can click on it. It will take you straight to the service. So if I click here, then I will see my Gen AI service. And then also the discriminative AI, like computer vision, custom vision, face API, machine learning, language, speech, and so on. We will have an AI masterclass in the upcoming series. But for now, we're just talking about the how would you manage the Azure portal. So that's the first thing, is the search bar. So the search bar is going to be always your friend to search everything. As you can see, even from my search history, is that I've searched Fabric, tags, VNet, and so on. I never used any other features or tabs here. So pretty much I do like to search on services. The other thing is, you can see here there is also Azure Copilot. So basically, this is also another tool that help you. It's a free tool as well. So basically, you can ask any question about this, maybe ask for how many Azure resource groups, I have, and what are the names. And then it will go and query the the Azure resource graph, and then get me the the answer from there. Let me pause and then come back when it's ready. So as you can see, it executed a query against the Azure resource graph. It's showing me also the query that it used, and then it told me, hey, you have 3 resource groups, which is what we've created in the last video: Dev VM RG UK001, Dev VNet, and Network Watcher. I can even query about my billing, right? So show me the compare the last 3 months billing, and then it should give me a result over there. So it will just start to run and so on. But I just wanted to show you to validate, like, here is the 3 resource groups that the Azure Copilot is actually querying the answer. So you can ask a lot of questions related to what's happening in the session. You can ask it to, like, how would I create resources? Like, it will help you in different things. So it's saying here to proceed with billing, please specify 2 time periods. Maybe I can just say December and like, November, and then it should bring me the results. But notice here, it's really kind of, you can ask it what is my billing for today, and then it will retrieve the data cost for you. But this is an AI assistant to help you inside Azure, and pretty much Microsoft is integrating Copilot and everywhere in security, in like, in M365 products and so on. So it makes the Azure cloud more smart and more useful for you. But as you can see, it made a comparison for me for my subscription ID. So it's showing the subscription ID. We discussed what is subscription. So if I search here, so it ran a query against my like, my subscription ID here, this one. And then it gave me the historical or the percentage difference here, what I've consumed in November and the differences, and so on. So it's very, very cool. And then you can also ask, how can I reduce Azure costs? Maybe ask about the Azure Advisor and so on. But that's Copilot for now. So I don't want to spend much time here. I'm just showing you, like, what is this tab. The other tab that we have today is also the Cloud Shell. Okay, so the Cloud Shell, as I mentioned, you can manage the Azure resources using different ways, either using PowerShell or Bash. So you can actually click on PowerShell and then like, select mount a storage account, maybe just select this subscription and apply. And then it will run a Windows container here, and it will let you execute PowerShell commands. So normally this is the Azure or the AZ module that you can leverage, and then can query resources, create resources, delete resources. So pretty much advanced, like, if you want to create in a faster way. So all of these are, like, you can use the Azure PowerShell, but also you can like, download, like, if I do get AZ resource groups, so I can query AZ resource group, so I can know all of my like, the resource groups inside my subscription. Same query that we have used in Copilot here. I'm just trying to like, show you the same example, but there's a lot of features here you can leverage. You can switch to classic version. There's many different things that you can leverage on the Cloud Shell, but again, I'm just showing you that you can use it here, or even go from the documentation and download the Azure PowerShell or the CLI into your computer, and then extend your PowerShell or the command line interface to communicate with the like, the Azure services. But you need to log in and so on. So you need to run a command like AZ login, and then from there it will ask you to sign in, and so on. Okay, so this is typically when you want to sign in, you need to copy that URL, paste the code, and then you should be able to authenticate, and then the shell will have access to the like, the Azure resources. But as you can see, since you opened this from the Azure portal, this means is using, or it's signing in using that account, which means I have the privilege to create resources, view resources, and so on. You can make a full screen here, so you can do maximize. You can even type shell.azure.com, and then it will open also a full screen of this Windows container, and then you can run all of your PowerShell commands. Okay, so here, this is the bell icon. So this is where it shows you all the notifications. So if you created, let's create just one resource group here. If I create one resource group and then I just call it test, again, I'm not going to follow the best practice for now, but if I create and then review and create, and then I click create, then I should be able to see, like, hey, the resource group was created successfully. So if I do refresh, I should be able to see that. So just test is created. So it's gonna show me, like, the result. If it's failed, it's gonna show the failure, and it's also gonna give you how much time did it actually take to provision this resource group. So it's pretty much like, if I deleted also the resource group, I just can copy the name, paste it here, delete, then also I should be able to see the deletion requests, and if it's successful or failed, and so on. So all of these, you get notification from the bell icon here. The other part is the settings part. So this is where you can do some customization. Like, for example, if you have more than one identity that you would like to switch between them, so you can actually go to all of your directories and maybe switch between these directories. You can modify filters here if you have more than one subscription. Again, this is advanced choices, but this is where you can customize your settings. Can customize how it looks like. If you want it in dark mode, then you can apply. If you wanted to do it in auto mode, then you can do it in auto mode. The language, you can control the language here, what type of language you need to know. For the Arabic speakers, there is no Arabic, but these are the available language that you can use with the Azure Portal, and then the regional format, so you can also choose that one. This is the information, which email address that it will use to send you emails, and this is the signing out notification. So you can control this timeout. Like, let's say I want this Azure Portal to sign out after 1 hour, okay, of inactivity. So I can do that, or maybe sign me out when I'm inactive after 15 minutes, and so on. So all of this can be controlled from the settings tab. So if I click again on Microsoft Azure, it will take me back home. And this is where you can, if you click here, you will view your account, you can sign out, you can sign in, and so on. But yeah, this is pretty much pretty much it for the Azure Portal here. Also, if I click on the search bar, I can see the Copilot management. This is also, if you would like to store the chat history and so on, you can actually do that. So you can go to Copilot. Microsoft is constantly improving the Copilot for Azure, but it's still a new service. So there's nothing much you can do here. But you can see here, this is the access management. You can make it available for all users, or even disable Copilot for all users. You can also choose to store all of the conversation history on Cosmos DB. So you can bring your own storage, and then select your own Cosmos DB and save it over there. So Microsoft by default doesn't retain any of these conversations, but if you would like to store this one, then you can just create a Cosmos DB and then save all the data or this chat history over there. This is the same concept of when you create your own custom AI models through the Azure AI Foundry. You can use Cosmos DB to save the the conversation history. Okay, if I go back here, click on Azure. What else I can show you here? This is kind of the start menu. There are quick starts here, like Defender for Cloud, M365, Microsoft Entra ID, Microsoft Fabric, and so on. That's also pretty new. And there is also the hamburger menu here. So when you click here, it's gonna show you all the services. So you have by default two or this tab separated into multiple sections. The first one is create resources. Or you go back home here, or even you go to the dashboard. So dashboard basically is where you can save your specific dashboards, like maybe CPU utilization dashboard, something that is important and you would like to monitor. Maybe you could use any of these templates, like Azure Inventory, for example. This is just about resources. So this is my resources, and it will show me how many resources going to be created. How many resources I've created here. It's tell me I have virtual network. I can make this always refresh every few minutes. So yeah, it's pretty much it's gonna show me the the virtual network. I can see the details about this network and so on. So this can be virtual machines, CPU utilization. This could be logs, whatever. You can even create your custom dashboard. So either you're going to use the pre-built templates, or you even create your custom dashboard. If I go back here on the hamburger menu, there's also all services. So this is where you can see all the Azure services. There are thousands of Azure services. Some of them I know and some of them I don't know. But I don't like to use that all view. I normally like to browse by categories here. So you can see here there's AI, machine learning, analytics, compute, containers, DevOps, databases, general, hybrid plus multi-cloud, and so on. But if I click on the hamburger menu again, I have my list of favorites, all right? So this is fully customizable. I can actually hide, let's say, the Azure OpenAI here. So I can just, sorry. If I hover over onto the Azure AI, I can just click on the start button here. It will disappear. So now I don't have this one. I can take this and then switch it here. So your view might be different from my view. It depends on how much service you're using and what's your favorite one. So maybe developers will have the DevOps tools, maybe function apps, logic apps, and so on. Maybe the infrastructure team will have virtual machines, containers, like, AKS, and so on. The AI will have the AI services in place, and then that's it. So this is fully customizable. And to be able to add extra services, all you need to do is just to go to all services and let's say pick up any of these ones. Just hold your mouse here, hover over to it, and then just click on the start button. Then you will see the Azure Machine Learning added here. Maybe I just want to add Azure Machine Learning on top. Okay, so that's how you remove and add services into your favorite. Then you will see here the categories. So as you can see, Microsoft is quite mature in artificial intelligence, even prior the partnership with OpenAI and then bringing all of these great models. But you can see this is the search service. You can see the video indexer, computer vision, and so on. There's a lot of discriminative and generative AI models that you can use over Azure. There's analytics. So you can see here maybe Azure Databricks, maybe Microsoft Fabric, like what you have seen here, Microsoft Fabric, Power BI, Log Analytics, and so on. There is the compute. So basically the compute is the Azure virtual machines. It is the microservices if you're going to use containers or Azure Kubernetes services or container apps environment or function to run specific code, bare metal offering. There is a lot. And there is also container here, so this is just specifying the container or specifically the microservices. So it's telling you here, these are the options, including the Azure Container Registry. So if you would like to save your images or your container registry instead of Docker registry, you can use the Azure Container Registry, which is private within Azure, and it's saved within Azure, within your Azure subscription. There is also Red Hat OpenShift managed by Microsoft, so we call it Azure Red Hat. And there is also databases here, so all of the databases you might think of. Azure, of course, SQL Server, Cosmos DB, but you have MongoDB Atlas, you have Oracle as a service on Azure, you have Neon Serverless Postgre, there is Cassandra, there's tons of offering here that you can leverage today. There's the DevOps tools. Again, that Microsoft owns GitHub and Azure DevOps. So also you could leverage the the GitHub or the Azure DevOps tools from Microsoft. And then you can see also the monitoring services, whether you're using first party Azure Monitor or App Insights or even Datadog or Dynatrace or Elasticsearch. Or whatever, so you can see here the integrations are pretty strong. For managing APIs, also have API management and so on. So all of these are services that you can see, there is management, there is SAP, there is monitoring, so you can see all of the monitoring tools, networking, then you can see the networking tools. You can see also general. The one thing I would like to highlight here is you can click on free services, so you can know exactly what are the free services that you can leverage without paying money. So you can see here you have 750 hours free services of VM, like Windows or Linux. You have Azure Managed Account. They have the first 5 GB for free. You have hours for databases. So if you would like to try this, even on a pay-as-you-go part, you can actually use it. There are things like functions. The first million requests is free. So there's a lot of free services that you can leverage. Even AKS is also free. So again, it's very good to test and understand. You don't need to pay everything. There are things like always free, like virtual network, for example, but the outbound traffic, of course, or inbound traffic is outbound, is charged. But again, you can just check the documentation either from the previous video that I've explained before, or from the free services here as well. This is another way. The other thing is to monitor your your outages and so on. You can click on the Azure Service Health. This is where you can see all of, if there is any global outages and so on. You can view it from here. If there are any planned maintenance, so the product group or the Microsoft always will share with you any kind of details if there are any outages and so on. But there is also the Azure Service Health, you could check the documentation, you can see the region health and so on if you're not able to access this. But you also have the choice to configure alerts. So if something bad happened, then the Azure Monitor alerts will fire up alert, like maybe sending you an SMS or sending an email or whatever. So you can also do all of this from here. If I go back again, and then let's maybe review the artificial intelligence model. So I can even search here Azure AI, Azure AI, or even AI Foundry, AI Foundry. So AI Foundry is the portal to manage the generative AI and discriminative AI. So Microsoft is trying to unify all of these services within Microsoft Foundry. So some of the services are available within Foundry, but pretty much all Gen AI are available here. So that's meant to create your own custom generative AI. You control the region, you control everything. So if I go here and then, for example, just choose any or maybe create new resource group here, like AI RG, and then I just gonna name my resource here, maybe C Cloud with Mo AI. And then here, for compliance, you can choose a specific region, so maybe East US or East US 2 and so on. And then here, this is the project name, so you can call it also maybe Cloud with Mo AI. And then click next. Here, there is a lot of details. I'm not gonna walk you through that, but this is pretty much if you would like to store any secrets and monitoring, you can select those ones. And this is where the agent service, again, I'm not gonna talk about this for now. You can control the networking if you would like this API to be accessible from everywhere, or maybe just within your private network. You can also disable the public access. One of the most powerful features is that you can integrate with Microsoft Entra ID, which means is that you can bring extra safety to the authentication instead of authenticating with the managed keys and with the keys or passwords. So you can use Microsoft Entra ID for authentication. And once you're done, then you have the AI Foundry, like hub or project created for you. There was an error here saying that I need to choose a different naming convention, because this is globally need to be unique even if I don't have anyone. So maybe I just do 2021 6. Let me just try that. Again, the naming convention, as I mentioned before, some of the resources requires to be unique within the Azure subscription. And some of them it has to be globally unique because it's using the global DNS. So it has to be global everywhere. So if someone else is using this name, then you have to change that name for something else. But then once I change this name, so that deployment started to kick off, and then I can track my deployment process to see what kind of services are getting created or the dependencies. And then once it's it's done, then I will be able to launch or select my AI models. So I will pause and then come back again. So as you can see, the Azure AI Foundry project hardly took a few seconds, and then it's created successfully. So I can click onto the go to all resources, or even I can just go here for Microsoft AI Foundry and then click on the Foundry here. There is also the hub. Again, there are differences, but I'm not going to talk about this. We're not in the dive deep session. But when you click on that project, you will see here, just let me go back. You will see here, there's nothing to do here. So it's just basically the authentication, managing some of the security, and so on, which we will talk about later. But as soon as you create this, you just need to go to the Foundry portal. This is the Visual Studio of the artificial intelligence. So the same thing, if I tell you what tools to use to manage the Azure resources, you're going to tell me the Azure Portal, CLI, PowerShell, and so on. What tools to manage the generative AI or discriminative AI resources, you're going to tell me the AI Foundry. And then it will ask you to log in with your account. So I select my account, and then I am in the Foundry project. So this is the new interface. Currently is in public preview. There is another one, but again, when we reach to the AI Dive Deep series or the master class, I will explain every single tab here. But look at this. There is kind of more than 11,000 models that you can choose today. So if you want to compare models, or even I go back here, you can see there is more than 11,000 models that you can select, whether the exclusive partnership with OpenAI or even Microsoft or DeepSeek or Grok. So Microsoft really a solution house here. So it doesn't really care about what kind of AI models. If you would like to use the open source one like Llama or Mistral or Hugging Face or any of these models, you can pretty much select. If you would like to use the latest Gen AI, maybe GPT 4.0 or whatever, then you can also leverage that as well. So pretty much you can just click on the any AI model that you would like to use. It will give you the details about this model, what are the use cases, also the model knowledge, when it learned, and so on. So you can see here even the pricing. Some of them it will be available, what are the use cases, the technical specification. Some of them are available, some of them are not, but you can see here this is the available deployment options. Also there is no documentation here. The quality index, so basically the quality of that, the index, this latency, the safety of this model, estimated cost is 3.5 per 1 million token, so which is very cheap. You can compare it with other models, you can do a lot. But once you're comfortable and happy with that, like if I go back, here, I just can click on deploy. But again, this is not available in my subscription. So this is a different part. But let me just bring something that is available because this is a test subscription. Let me just use an older model here like GPT 4.0 mini. And then if I'm happy with this, then here I just can click on deploy. And then I can just do the default settings. Once it's deployed, I have a private AI model in the US region. I can choose in UK, I can choose whatever, so I know where is the model, I know where is the data is going in, and then I can start leveraging this like hello world. Okay, then I can build agent on top of it. I can do custom search, I can do RAG, I can do everything. So that's I can give it instructions here to answer a specific question. I can say here you are more AI, only answer questions related to AWS. Anything else, answer I don't know, except if someone is asking who you are. Okay, so once you added this grounding, if I say here, how can I create Azure VMs? It should say, I don't know. Okay. But if you have any questions about AWS, feel free to ask. Okay. If I say, how can I create Amazon EC2 Windows machine, then it should give me a response. And then notice here it will give me how many minutes or how many seconds did this responded. And again, this is just pretty much how can you utilize and use this. This is just the playground for developers. This is you can consume the the API and so on. But again, this is way out of scope for the Azure portal now. But I just wanted to show you the capability and the power. But you can see here there's a model endpoint where you can call that endpoint. You can see the region and so on. So again, this is the AI Foundry. There's many exciting stuff that we will talk about in the future, but I only wanted to show you how would you use and utilize the Azure Portal. And I hope this video was useful for you. If you have watched the video till the end, I would like to thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you have learned something new. This is just scratching the surface and we're getting started. But I hope that you're going to continue with me on this series till you become a true Azure expert. Thanks for watching and see you on the next video.